Gentlemen, welcome. This is the second video in our 7-video series on why you matter as a man. This is one that I think you're going to find very exciting. We all like this one. This is the first of the 4 privileges we are fortunate enough to fulfill once we get in touch with our authentic masculinity. And it's the one that gets everybody's blood racing. Our pulse races when we hear this. And this is your role, my role, as the prince. The prince is the authority figure. The prince is the privileged leader of a family. And we're going to get some things out of the way right off the top. And if you disagree with these things, then there's no need to proceed. The husband and father is the head of the family. Now, before you go racing out of the room, all right, let me just tell you that your role as the head of your family is something that you must treat as a sacred privilege. And the beauty of it is you can supplement that strength, you can supplement that authority, you can supplement that privilege through the willing support of your bride. The most powerful authority a man can exercise is called referent authority. Referent authority is when those he loves and leads give him the authority. And the only way to get that authority is to earn it. Now, why would we deserve that authority? Why would we deserve this privilege? Why would we deserve the role of authority that sort of governs all the others? Well, we would get it because we're naturally inclined to it, but some of us aren't as good at it as we'd like to be. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important for you as a man to be the prince in your life. A friend of mine once told me that what men do best is we compartmentalize. Compartmentalization is very important. It's the ability to look at one problem at a time without allowing ourselves to get rattled by all the other problems we may be facing. Does this mean that we don't have a lot of problems to solve? No, quite the contrary. We have a lot of problems to solve on a daily basis. But what are we built for? We're built for combat. We're built to be hunter-gatherers. We're built to provide for others. We're built to sacrifice. And what that means is all of our existence may hinge on a single decision that we have to focus on exclusively. The power to do that, and granted, it doesn't happen very often. You're not going to have very many instances in your life where your whole life is going to hinge on one decision. But I will tell you that your life can hinge on a single conversation. I will tell you that your life can hinge on a single interaction. You can decide to take action based on a powerful concept that you discover. And your ability to isolate your judgment and focus on that one concept is just one illustration of this ability we have as men to compartmentalize. Okay. This goes back to the idea of being a hunter. This goes back to the idea of being a combatant, a soldier of sorts. All right, so let's talk about it. Our ability to compartmentalize means that we can judge, we can evaluate, we can discriminate between very subtle distinctions. And we can do that while putting our emotions aside. Why is this important? It's important because in this complex world, our ability to put our emotions in check is what's going to save our lives. Now, we talk about compartmentalization. Here's a question you should be asking yourself. Why do we all share this? Okay? Why do we all have this in common? There's a reason. And the reason is, collectively as men, our ability to compartmentalize says something about how we interact with women. It says something about how we interact with each other. It's vitally important to understand this concept. And it's exciting. And once you do understand it and unlock it, you're going to find that your awareness of it allows you to deploy it in your life. Let's talk about it for a minute, all right? I happen to have a lot of children. When my children have done something wrong, and I show up on the scene, everybody gets quiet, right? Now, I will tell you, that's true of every father. That doesn't say a lot about me as a powerful father. That just means my presence on the scene means there are going to be consequences. And as soon as I show up, everybody gets quiet, right? It doesn't mean I have to say anything. The worst thing in the world I could do is start, if I'm off my game and if I'm upset, if I'm off balance, if I'm in disequilibrium, what's the worst thing a father can do? Walk in and start hitting everybody, right? Because then you could do an injustice. You could open up a wound that may never heal in your children. What's the most vital thing a man has to do when he shows up? Walk in, calmly assess the situation. Don't let your emotions come into play. Why is this important, right? As a judge, and a judge is an important thing that a prince does. Why is it that that's so important? Because when emotions come into play, things get tangled up and complicated. And a man's genius is this ability to walk in, ask questions, assess, step back, see things in context, see things in perspective, see things the way they interact, and then make your decision calmly. This hesitation to take action is one of the things that makes us strong, because it lets time do its work. I don't know how old you are. You may not remember this term, but for a long time, the traditional ideal man was called the strong silent type. And in the old movies, you'll hear women talking, oh, he's the strong silent type. And it wasn't a caricature. It wasn't a criticism. It was sort of the ideal man was strong enough to withhold judgment, strong enough to be quiet, strong enough to control his actions until he could assess the situation. And that silence was an indication of self-control. What I would recommend to you to do is think about whether or not you can pursue that ideal. Just try it for a little while. In this crazy, mixed-up world we live in, men could all benefit if we could be a little bit better at being stronger and quiet. Silence is an indication of confidence. Confidence is an indication of strength. The way men become strong is through self-knowledge. And you develop self-knowledge. You develop self-knowledge by asking yourself some questions and spending some time with yourself. We have found at Authentic Masculinity that there is a system that we can apply, and it's what we call the 5 critical questions. And the 5 critical questions on the face of it are very simple. It's who, what, where, when, and why. But we're going to talk very briefly about each of these questions and how they apply to the prince. Who you are is not what you do. I worked with a business owner once, and as I talked to him about his business, I realized that he was defining himself by his business. And this is something that we must not do as men, especially as the prince. What I would ask you to do is ask yourself who you are. How do you see yourself in relationship to the people who love you? And how do you see yourself in relationship to the people that you yourself love? If you were to ask me who I am, I would say I am a happily married father and husband, and I'm a father of 12 children. So who I am is intimately connected to who is in my life and who matters to me. There's an illustration from the wonderful movie Gladiator, which I'd like to try to present to you now. I recommend watching that movie at least once a year. And what you'll find as you proceed on your journey as a man, you'll find yourself drawing different lessons from it. In the movie, the hero Maximus is asked at some point by Commodus, and it's a climactic moment in the movie. Commodus, the bad guy, is talking to Maximus, the good guy. And Commodus says, "Who are you?" Because he's starting to realize that he's facing a credible opponent. And it's interesting, isn't it, that he wants to know who he is. As a man, he wants to know who his opponent is. And Commodus craves this knowledge because I think he knows he's about to face his own destruction. Maximus's response is dramatic and revealing. And Maximus says, "I am husband to a murdered wife and father to murdered children." And he defines himself and who he is by that relationship and that love that he felt for his wife and children. As a prince, you've got to start thinking about who you are as a man. And don't confuse it with what you do as a job. And we're going to go through these more quickly. What you do is, how do you earn your living, right? You may bind yourself closely to what you do, and you may identify yourself by what you do. And that's okay if you love what you do and if you pour yourself into it. But don't let it dominate who you are as a man. So if I'm a lawyer, I may invest myself in the law. If I'm a soldier, I may invest myself in being a soldier. But don't ever forget that your wife doesn't love you because you're a soldier. She loves you because of who you are as a man. So don't ever forget that. The next question is, where are you on your journey? Where are you in this journey of life? Some of us have formative experiences as young men, which mature us quickly. Others of us may not have had those experiences, so we have to take that into account as we encounter new situations. That's a different discussion we'll talk about later. So who are you? What are you? Where are you in your journey? Where are you in your journey is intimately linked to when is it in your life. All right? Now I want to explain this very carefully because it also matters in the context of the prince. I'm 56 years old. I may be fit, I may be physically sound, but I can't argue with the fact that time is running for me. I'm 56. I'm not in the spring of my life. If you're 25 years old, that's a radically different question. And you have to recognize where you are, what time is it in your life is an important thing. So when is it in your life? Where are you in your journey, and when is it in your life are two different questions. Once you go through those four questions, you're going to come up with the most exciting question, and that is, why do you want to be better as a prince? Why do you want to be better as a provider, a protector, a priest? And the priest is a spiritual component. We'll talk about that in the next video. All of these questions will unlock how you get to where you want to go. And we're going to go into that and unpack it later, but I wanted to just touch on that briefly. So who are you, what are you, where are you in your journey? When is it in your life? Why are you trying to improve? All that will reveal your how. So, in closing, I want to congratulate you on taking the time and trouble to think about these hard questions. Confront yourself, get to know yourself better as a man. I will benefit, the world will benefit when we all try harder to be better. Nobody likes a weak man. And remember, strength comes from confidence. Confidence and strength go hand in hand. And all of this comes from self-knowledge. And we're going to start on this journey together, and I'm looking forward to pursuing it with you. So until we talk again, be bold, be authentic, be masculine. Stop in and see us at authenticmasculinity.com. And remember, we want you to know how to leverage every aspect you have in your masculinity to improve every aspect of your life. Thank you so much.